All right, let's see. Let's get this show on the road. Um, Hope everybody's having a good night tonight. I'm joined by this slug, a very sweet cat. Um, and yeah, so we are, I guess this is the first one we've had this October. Man, is that right? No, that can't be right. No, it's not. We had one the very, very beginning of October. So our second one for October. Um, hey Eric, how you doing? I Congratulations on a successful summit of Mount Arvin for you. Glad you guys made it up. I'm wondering how was the rest of your Michigan experience up there? Hey David, nice to see you here. Thanks for being here. Um, so this particular, what do I got to talk to tonight? Well, I got a chance to run up to Mount Hood. I had to go to Portland for a conference. And after 4 days of conferencing and talking about business relationship management and the VA and meeting plenty of other people, I finally got a chance to escape Thursday morning and drove out from Portland up to Mount Hood and almost got a perfect picture of Mount Hood being reflected in Trillium Lake. Unfortunately, it sounds so bad. There was a kayaker out there who was, while they were paddling awfully slow, there was enough ripple on the surface to not quite get it, but it was still remarkably pretty regardless. And I got not only some good photography, I got some great drone footage. Also, I actually spent about 3 solid hours. I blew through 5 batteries flying the drone around Mount Hood, first at Trillium Lake, and then over on a couple of the snow parks or whatever they call them, up on 35 as you head towards Hood River. And not perfect weather. I mean, it was pretty good considering the last couple days in Portland had been wet and rainy, overcast, stuff like that. So happy to get some semblance of, sun. So it was nice. Got to do a little bit of flying around the mountain. Got to do a little bit of flying down the Hood River, the East Fork of the Hood River, and then picked up a huge breakfast at Hood River. And maybe this is going to go on the list, I think, of recommendations. I think it's Betty's Diner in Hood River, right down like on the Main Street area. Wow, the the omelet felt like the omelet was the size of my head. You definitely get your money's worth at Betty's Diner. I think it's Betty's Diner, but yeah, it made me, despite only getting about 4 hours of time, once again, a couple thoughts crossed my head while I was there. One, I think Mount Hood might be my favorite peak to photograph. It's just so pretty, stunningly beautiful, and some of the angles that you can get, that one on Trillium Lake, or even on the eastern side, they're just incredible, absolutely jaw-dropping. And then I'm really excited to give that a shot this coming May. So I'm really looking forward to getting that squared away. I was not able to make it to Timberline mountain guides and get a chance to talk to them. Just didn't have the time, but still going to get that signed up and get that squared away. So hopefully within the next month, we'll have booked our time. I think I'm going to do a bit of the mountaineering school too. I think that will be interesting. One, I need it. But two, I think it'll be fun to showcase some of that on an episode, and then go for that climb. So, I mean, it was snow-capped all the way through. It was a white peak, and it's only, the second week of October. So may that bode well for a good snowfall this year on Hood. So, yeah, that was my Hood experience. I hadn't been there since 2017. Yeah, 2017, I believe. And still just as pretty as always. I think also that that area just in general, really like it. I really would like to spend more time there, just hiking those trails and taking in, the Mount Hood National Forest and all it has to offer. Of course, on the way back on 84, I think it's 84, heading back to Portland Airport, spied Multnomah Falls off the interstate. The tourist trap that it can be. So, but and then I also got to fly a little bit down the Columbia River, not quite in the Columbia Gorge, but down a little bit to the east of that. So there's other work yet to be done, but it was nice to get the B-roll on that already started, get some of that filler stuff, and just get myself excited for that big peak. Other things from that excursion, not much really. Like, it was a long week. It was weird. I mean, considering most of the week was spent, and it was the first conference I'd actually been to in person in 4 years. First time I've done a live presentation since, God, like in front of a live audience, I should say. Not like virtual, not something, but actually giving a full-on presentation and speech in front of a live group of people in about, almost 4.5 years. Absolutely crazy. So that was really cool to get back into the mood for that, to get back into the swing of things for that. And yeah. So other things that are going on, I finally was able to get that video essay for my 10 years out the door. And I'm pleased with how that turned out. I hope you guys were able to enjoy that. And now I am working on Pluto, getting that wrapped up and getting that out the door. So hopefully, fingers crossed, Pluto is on the is out for public consumption in 1 November. So, and then, hey, Bill, how you doing? Glad you're here. Tonight's drink of choice tonight is a classic. It's Doc cider, a classic hard apple cider out of New York. And it was surprising. I thought I had marked that one down years ago, but apparently I didn't, or I did before I started recording all that. So regardless, it is the season. Today, or this whole weekend, was a full-on fall weekend, and we got our Halloween decorations up. It's definitely feeling a little bit like the off season, but as I was thinking that through, I realized that it really isn't. the off season because I'm going to do Campbell Hill at the end of this month. So I think I mentioned that before, but I'm going back to Wisconsin for one of my friends' birthdays. One of my friends' weddings, and on the way back, I was originally planning to like shoot the stuff for Campbell Hill on the way there, but I think it's going to happen on the return trip. So I'm going to go back, refilm Campbell Hill, hopefully get a little bit more, get some drone footage added into it, and do a little more around Bellefontaine and just a little bit more in that area in general. So I'm really looking forward to getting that one redone. It'll be my third visit to Campbell. So another one where I've gone multiple, like through the years, to see how Campbell really hasn't changed. I mean, that area with being part of the school system, they call it the most manicured high point in the country. And the odd little thing about that is it doesn't change. It's still exactly the same. The same sort of garden structure, the whole works. You get that same experience. So I'm still looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun. And then let's see. In the comments there, you got into high pointing much more abruptly than I would have thought. Hoosier Hill, Timms Hill, Campbell Hill, then just the Southeast Six Pack, pretty much. This is part of my personality when I really get taken in with something and I really find it exciting. I sort of dive all into it. So, considering in some places, part people would be like, you did high pointing. Like there were folks like my first peak was Elbert, or my first peak was Mount Whitney. My illustrious first three are not ones you really want to, I don't want to say write home about. I love Timms Hill. Timms Hill has a lot of significance for me throughout my life, but still, it's nothing, I don't want to say spectacular, though I will say this, if you get there in peak fall, peak autumn, it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. Highly recommend anybody to visit Timms Hill at the tail end of September, first week of October. So I find it, I don't know, like my starting path on this whole thing was the first, I gotta think back, because it wasn't long after, what was number 4? Was it Spruce Knob? If it was Black Mountain, that makes the story even more funny. But needless to say, when the first peak that I really was totally captivated by was Mount Rogers. Like, I remember doing that one in the fall of, was it the fall? Yeah, it was the fall of 2013. And going across the Highlands, it was just gorgeous. And that was where it's all really, like, up till then, like, all the peaks I was bagging, it just was, I don't know how to describe it. They weren't the normal path. Or I shouldn't say they weren't an exciting path, but I found them exciting. So, terrible idea is, hey, glad you're here. A friend of mine has a picture of Campbell Hill with ice axes and crampons. Perfect place to do it. I will say that the hill going down from the flagpole there, it is a great sledding hill. So I think that would be pretty fun. Eric Kelly, high pointing for me was Mitchell, then Klingman, then Hoycrest. See, you go to the top of Mitchell and you look out there and you're like, wow, you get it. You get this great view of the Black Mountains, and then Klingman with the Smokies, and then Hoycrest, you get a great view of the windmills. I have a feeling the views at Hoycrest are going to change and not necessarily for the better. Stephen Wagoner, I go by Rambler. Hi, Mountain Rambler. Nice to have you here. Thanks for stopping in. I really appreciate it. So, going on, Campbell Hill, end of this month. And then November is basically sort of off. I have nothing scheduled. I mean, no high points through November. Definitely looking forward to being able to capture or get caught up. I'm still going through all the footage I shot throughout the tail end of the summer into the fall, and man, I haven't filmed that much footage in a long time, and so just going through it has been pretty crazy. But December, over the holiday break, the tail end, I think I'm going to redo Chia Mountain. So go to Alabama and refilm that, which should be pretty fun. I was debating of either redoing that or redoing Missouri. And I think, I don't know, I think Chia Mountain will be the better one to redo. Though, if it's particularly wet at that time, maybe Missouri will win out simply for the fact that Minnesauk Falls is awesome when there's plenty of moisture. Let's put it that way. When there's been plenty of water in the system, because that falls can be a total bust if it's dry because it's not constant. So Bill drove up West Virginia's second highest mountain this morning, Snowshoe, after hearing there was some snow. Sure enough, top of the mountain was in fog and snow that wasn't sticking. Wow. Close to the end, have you thought about post-achievement depression? Surprisingly, I shouldn't say I don't actually suffer from it, but I've already got the next couple series planned out. And so, I know where I want to go next. So the achievement angle, at least for the climbing, I'm not going to stop. I'm still going to keep climbing. I might not be filming them all unless it's something special, but storytelling-wise, I've mentioned this before. I got the next series planned out. I actually have 2 other ones that I've been working on. And then I have the list, which is 5 pages of ideas of things that I've always wanted to do, film and photography-wise. So I've also think I might actually take all these scripts and all this photography and stuff that we've collected and put together a book. I've attempted to write 1 book in my life. It did not go well. But I feel like in this case, I've already written substantial bits of it. So I think that would be pretty fun to actually see if I could do that. But we're not out of the woods yet. And I also feel that I really want to do the United Kingdom and the British Isles, basically. So Yeah, and there you go, 63 national parks. Um, I was actually thinking about that the other day because it'd come up in a conversation, and I'd love to do more of those. I've also thought it would be cool to do seconds, like go back and hit up the most prominent peaks in each state. Hike with Mike, thanks for being here. Hope you're doing well tonight. So, I mean, it's weird. Like, the first time I ever encountered that post achievement depression was actually when I got out of the Marine Corps. Um, that was more coming out of an institution and, a total culture shock, culture shift. But in some ways, so much of my identity was wrapped up in that organization at that time. I learned a lot. One thing I did learn was don't wrap all your identity up into an organization. Um, but we there was that I learned a lot from that experience, and ever since then, like I feel here, yeah, it has taken up a good chunk of my life, and it's some of the best years going to these places. But it's a big country, and that's one of the things I'm constantly. In some ways, this sounds weird, but I feel like sometimes the mountains take priority, and I feel I might miss out on things. It's got to climb that peak, and I love that, but maybe I'd like to explore a little bit more of these other places. So, but it's a great point, and um, there's another thing that actually I've wanted to do too. When I mentioned like things that we're working on, and this is the one that when my brother gets out of the service after his career, and he's coming up on 20, is we want to drive the Lincoln Highway from Times Square all the way out to Lincoln Park in San Francisco. And we want to do it in a Model T, and we want to film it. Yeah. So, but if I can give anybody a bit of advice, just like Eric said, don't wrap your identity around, around one thing. You're more than that. And it's good to have these things, but it yeah. Rambler, my climbing buddy only has 6 of the ultra prominent peaks in the lower 48 left. They are much tougher. Yes, they are. It is not a list I will go down. I know where my strengths are, and I know where my weaknesses are too. So, but it is inspirational. That is a hell of a list. So congratulations to your climbing partner on that. That is awesome. Your boy Alex, good evening. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm glad you're here. So it's been but yeah, and at the time, even if I have this feeling I'll wrap this series up and I still won't necessarily be satisfied with it. There's still a decent amount of peaks that I need to go back to and redo to where I want it to be. The list goes a little bit less and less. So, but there's still a decent number. I mean, next year's going to be one of these ambitious years too. I'm hoping we do get the four new peaks: Maine, New York, Oregon, and Idaho. Hopefully, California's a 5 if we're super lucky. But overall, there's also I still want to get back to North Carolina, redo that. Still want to go redo Kentucky, West Virginia. West Virginia has been one of my top performers, but I look at it and I'm like, we could do better. So, are you comfortable? I think you are. So, let's see. I've been trying to learn about this lately, and I've been having some trouble. What is prominence? Okay. So, Normally, I need the definition for this instead of just writing it right off the cuff. But prominence is the amount of elevation, and somebody will correct me. I know this. So, prominence is the elevation a peak has over its other peaks in the area. I think that's right. I could be wrong. I'd have to, I got the internet right here, but I also have you guys. So if somebody could throw it in the chat, that would be great. And you'll get total credit for this. But yeah, so basically, when somebody's talking about an ultra peak, like Rambler mentioned, that is a peak that has 6,000 feet of prominence. There's only 2 in the eastern U.S., and that's Mount Mitchell and the Beast of the East itself, Mount Washington up in New Hampshire. Mitchell's down in North Carolina. And then it's funny, when you look at the low end of prominence, you get a place sort of like Kansas, Mount Sunflower, which it was named jokingly, and that has like a foot, I think. Actually, I think it's a little more than that. It's not that terrible, but it ain't much. It ain't much prominence. Let's see. I got stuck behind a dozen Model Ts, part of a club on a country road. Then top speed was 35, 40 miles per hour. So I couldn't pass a dozen of them. That's right. When you get behind the client or the groups like that, it's rough. And Cody and I have talked about that. Like, we're going to have to be smart on how we do this. Let's see. Rambler, let me know if there is beta or support you need for Hood in May. It's my home mountain. I shall. I definitely shall. I know Eric is planning on doing Hood in May as well, I believe. So, yeah, that would be welcome. More details to follow. It's still, things are being written, but we haven't locked in definite dates yet. But as soon as we do, I'll let everybody know. Eric, I'll get yours in a moment. But your boy Alex, fun fact, Marcy is lower than Panorama Point. It is one of my favorite facts that if you go out to Nebraska, number 20, and you're over a mile high, and if you're standing there, you would never know. it's you're just standing on a slight rise, a slight little hill in the plains. You just look out and all you see is plains. But it does make me laugh, because if you see Marcy, you're like, wow, that's a pretty decent sized thing. And but yes, Nebraska has a higher elevation. Nebraska is part of the Mile High Club. So, Eric, what actually made you divert to Hoosier Hill the first time? It's pretty much as I've always said it. I was literally driving down I-70, and I saw the sign, Indiana's highest point. And I quickly did this mental calculus in my head of like, I should keep going. And then I'm like, I probably won't come this way again. So why not just go check this out? Just go check it out and see what it is. Like, hey, it's, I look at it, it was one of these things where it's like, I'll get a story to tell out of it. If I just run up there real quick, I'll at least have something to talk about. Went to Indiana's highest point, blah, blah, blah. Even if it's just a line like that. What I didn't expect was, like, I didn't expect the fact that when I stopped there, and I was, because it's really easy. Like, if you go there and you're like, there's nothing to this. But all these things about my personality, it just sort of added up. Like, I think you know, you talk about post event depression. Um, I did an Ironman, Madison, Wisconsin, 2005. The following year, I did Ragbray, the Register's annual Great Bicycle Ride across Iowa. And I hadn't actually done anything of cool, like physically demanding or anything in a while. And for some reason, you know, one of my lifelong goals was to visit every single state in the US. And this, go to the highest point. Hey, that actually sounds, yes, Arthur Harmon Marshall is the person you're talking about. Um, he did the first 48. Go check out his list, by the way. Uh, it's a really cool time capsule because you'll see a lot of disparity in what we count as high points today, vice what he was working with at the time with the best knowledge he had available. He's a really interesting dude, and I'd still like to do more on that documentary on him. So, but yeah, so I didn't expect. I call it like it was kind of magic. I think that's the line I use. But honestly, like I literally left there and I was driving back to the interstate to get back on track to head to this class reunion. And I'm like, this could be cool. This could be cool. I should look into what the others are. And that was just reinforced through the weekend. Like, so get to Wisconsin and decide before I go to the class reunion, the 20-year, well, why not just run up to Timms Hill? I know Timms Hill is the highest point in Wisconsin. I grew up next to it, basically. And get to the top of it, standing out there, I'm like, this could be really cool. This could be something to look into. And, did a quick map to see how Ohio's played out. And by the time I got home, like I had this inkling in the car, like this would be something really cool to pursue. The time I finished that weekend, it was all locked in. What really locked it in, though, was the fact that the Southern Six-Pack there was basically in my backyard. I was living in Blacksburg, Virginia. And so all of a sudden, there's all these high points, like in my immediate vicinity. So I wanted to I figured that was the perfect path to a great adventure. Okay, terrible ideas. Imagine rings. Okay, terrible ideas has a great definition of prominence. Thank you. Imagine rings around a mountain that each represent the same elevation. Prominence is the height above the lowest of those rings that does not include a higher mountain in it. Thank you. That is an excellent definition. Awesome. Your boy Alex, fun facts. Hoosier Hills, yep, we talked about Arthur Harmon. Brown County High Point is lovely. Yeah, you're talking Weed Patch Hill. And looking at all Indiana County high points, Brown County's high point is not even in the top 10. I know. And that southern Indiana area, if you get down in there, it's really cool. It's not like the rest of the state. You have this great riverine topography built by the glacial runoff and stuff. And you see a lot of verticality within reason. It is still Indiana. But yeah, Weed Patch Hill is not in the top 10. It's weird when you look at Indiana. I think in the top 10 counties for highest points, only 2 are named, Hoosier Hill and Sand Hill. I don't even think they have names for the others, which is wild to me. I'm at 42, close to the end. Knowing that the adventures are closing, I got my first. I can see that I got, yeah. But, this is where I'd give you my advice is like, make sure you have your next thing planned out, your next goal. For me, it's going to be continuing to work on the 56 or those who signed, and start planning to do the British Isles one. Start planning to do some of the ones in the Caribbean. It's a big, bold world out there. So, country high points, yeah. Oh, I think 42 high points for Eric. So I think Eric's not even. I don't know. I have a feeling you're not even in your. You're just in your 30s still, age-wise. But yeah. So, but yeah, when I look at it, it's been a joy. Like I'm at 40 high points right now, plus the 2 territories. And I feel like I got a couple good years left. So, Campbell's your boy Alex, Campbell Hill's location, it is pretty funny on where it is, and the history behind all that is really wild, and the geology around that is pretty wild because it's on the Bellefontaine outlier. Basically, the glacier went around it. So when it carved that part of Ohio, that part is substantially higher. So my 50 after 50 project, I like it. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I'm excited. I love writing about the high points, but I'm really enjoying writing the stuff like the hardcore history stuff on the founding fathers. I'm really enjoying writing some of the forgotten episodes of American history, because that's what I went to school for, was history and political science. So getting into some of that hardcore, research, and it's fun. Yeah, it's good to go down that path again. So, all right, it's 9:07. So yeah, coming up in the next couple weeks, Campbell Hill. Then I'm going to take a huge break in November, and then get motivated, get things out the door. Actually, that's my November. November's not running around. November's all about getting content out. And then, you afraid of Denali? I can see in my mind's eye myself on the top of Denali, and but I know I'm not ready for it, not yet. I do know I need to follow the progression that we've planned out. So Hood's the start of that progression, and then we build to that with Rainier and Gannett, and then a trip down to Mexico. I don't even think I've mentioned that to you guys yet, but I'm planning on doing going down to Veracruz and climbing. I never can say the name right. I'm gonna have to bone up on my Spanish. But Mexico's highest point, it's an 18,000. It's a stratovolcano right outside of Veracruz, and so we've been talking about doing that as our big sort of higher elevation test run, and then doing Denali. So yes, so terrible ideas, exactly. I want to say it's Orizaba, but I know that's not how it's pronounced. I'll have to talk to my but yeah, we that's the plan. And when we get ready for Denali, I've got so much to prepare for, both to produce something of substance for this series, and then to focus on the climb itself. Like logistically, it's a bit intimidating. But I'm thinking the big question is do we do Agrihan before Denali? Do we do the Northern Marianas and then Alaska? simply for the fact that if how we prepare for the Northern Marianas might also help inform how we prepare for Denali. So, but that's that. So, not afraid of it. Cautiously optimistic. Definitely treating it with a lot of respect. It's there's nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing like it for U.S. state high points. It is clearly in a class all by its own. So, I mean, basically, you can take the tallest peak. Well, this doesn't quite work, but it's fun to say. You can take the tallest peak out west, Mount Whitney, take the tallest peak to the east, Mount Mitchell, stack them on top of each other, and they will be a little taller than Denali. But, yeah, you can, that's a lot of elevation. So, but on that note, it's 9/11. I think I'm going to wrap this one up. Next time, for those, it'll be the Rooftops of America Halloween edition. So I'm planning. I'm planning. Ghost stories ain't the right word, but one of the things I've found throughout my research on these is there's some interesting things that have happened. So we'll go down to we'll tell some ghost stories, I guess we'll say. We'll tell some more eerie stories about high pointing and some of the history around some of these places, which can be a lot of fun. So, right, your boy Alex. Fun fact: there's a point in northwestern Minnesota that almost reaches the height of Eagle Mountain. That is true. And Stephen, I highly recommend Alaska Mountaineering School. Thank you. That's a good recommendation. That is a great recommendation. And so with that, I'm going to wrap it up. This girl says good night, and I say good night as well. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for being here. I really, really appreciate it. Y'all have a wonderful evening.